Hello everyone, guitarist Hristo Vitchev here, and welcome to my new video series, Harmonic Geometry. In this particular set of lessons, I will be talking about some of the concepts and ideas that I really like to practice in order to expand my harmonic and melodic technique on the instrument, as well as some great exercises for warm-up, finger strengthening, coordination, and so forth. So, I wanted to start today by showing you a great exercise I use to warm up, to play chord melodies, and to expand my stretching of the fingers as well as the strength in some of the harmonic passages required to voice some of those close interval voicings that I'm utilizing throughout the chord melodic studies. So I'm going to take a Dorian mode. Now you can use any fingering for the mode. You can start with the second finger. Start with the pinky. You can use any one of the 3 note combinations. 4 notes per string doesn't really matter, as long as you have a mode, a kind of a box, a little shape that you're going to be using this concept through. That's all we need. Now we can apply it through any scale, any tonal system, any mode. I'm just going to pick Dorian because I feel like today. So anyways, Dorian represents the A minor 7 chord. It's also the second mode of the key of G major. So we have 1 sharp, the note F sharp, and all the other notes are natural. Now what I'm going to do in my mind when I practice this, I like to see all the notes as a geometric shape. So I'm playing the pattern this way. I'm playing 3 notes on the 6th string, 3 notes on the 5th string, 3 notes on the 4th, 3 notes on the 3rd, and then on the 2nd string, I'm also going to play 3 notes, but I'm going to repeat the note E, which we already had played on the 3rd string. The 3rd string had the notes C, D, and E. I'm going to repeat the E one more time, so I can have also 3 notes on the 2nd string, the notes E, F sharp, and G, and then continue with A, B, and C. So my pattern has a repeated note. The reason I repeat the note is so that I can have 3 notes per string without leaving the position. If you do a conventional 3 note per string pattern, on the 2nd string you have to shift over to play the other sets of 3 notes, and your position expands slightly larger than the 4 frets or 5 frets I'm staying in. So once I have the pattern in this way, I'm going to start thinking this is a geometric shape myself. So I want to think of all the notes that the first finger plays as column number 1, then all the notes that the 2nd finger eventually plays to the pattern as column number 2, and all the notes that either the 3rd or the 4th finger play as column number 3. So all the notes in column number 1 would be, all the notes in column number 2 would be, and the notes in column number 3 are going to be shared between the 3rd and the 4th finger. And that's how I break the pattern in my mind. Once I have done this, here's the exercise. We're going to work on strengthening our fingers, legato technique, as well as stretching and maintaining the smoothest possible motion and sustain of the sound. I'm going to start with placing my first finger on the root of the mode, and with the other 2 fingers I'm going to go on the next string, and I'm going to play the note on column number 3, the note on column number 2, and back on the note on column number 3, like this. Now I'm using, I don't want to drop this note, I'm sustaining the root as much as possible. And then I'm using legato, I'm using pull off and hammer techniques, try to even the sound. Well, all the notes are ringing. Then what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to retain this note here, and I'm going to move the remaining fingers down the scale. I'm going to be using notes from column number 3 and column number 2 within the mode. So the next one is I'm going to go to the 4th string. Again, still the bass is sustaining. Then I'm going to go to the 3rd string. Then I'm going to go to the 2nd. And then 1st. Okay, so again, those notes are the respective notes within the mode. That fit on those particular columns. So now if I do it once per phrase, that's what you get. The next step is I'm going to start to pretty much transpose this entire motif through the entire mode by switching through all the possible finger combinations. So now I'm going to put the first finger on the 5th string instead of the 6th string. So now I'm starting on the 4th of the scale. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the remaining fingers, but this time the starting point is slightly higher. So now since the 6th string is open, I'm going to play the 5th string and then play the note on column 3, column 2, and column 3 on the 6th. Again, the trick here is to make this note sustain. And again, you have to hammer and pull right on top of it, so it's kind of hard to, leave enough clearance. That's what we are training, to be able to do motions even in places where you don't have too much space, especially when you're going inner voice movement in kind of stretched or hard chords. These are some of the techniques necessary for that. So then I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to move straight to the 4th string because the 5th string has been taken with the bass. Then 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Now if I do it once per motif, get the idea, right? Now, if you can guess right, we're going to move to the next string in the mode. So now I'm starting the mode on the 7th, and now my bass note or fundamental kind of drone note, it's on the 4th string. So now the 6th and the 5th open, so I'm going to start a pattern like this. Then 5th. While the 4th string is ringing, then 3rd. 2nd, 1st. If I do it once per motif, sorry. And then, as you can guess, we're gonna start moving to the next string. Possible. We're gonna go to the 3rd string. Now we're starting on the flat 3 of the mode, the note C, and same thing. Now the stretches get larger, and you still have to maintain the strength and fluency of the line. If I do it again once per motif. And then I'm going to move to the 2nd string, which is the 5th of our mode, the note E. Same thing. Now the stretch gets big because you're stretching between the 6th string on the 8th fret and the 5th fret on the 2nd string. If I do it once per motif. And then finally, 1st string. So now. Right? So now once you have them all, we can start playing them in sequences without stopping. So I'm going to start with the 6th string bass, 5th string bass, 4th string bass, 3rd string, 2nd and 1st, while the other notes are moving in the respective columns. So it's going to sound something like this. Now, once you go to the first finger as a starting and leading position, then we're going to go through all the other possible permutations in this mode. And so now I'm going to put the second finger as the possible bass note or drone note. And so what's going to happen is now all the notes in column number 2 become those bass fundamental notes. So the notes that have to move against those are going to be column 1 and column 3. So again, everything is based on the same shape. So if I select now the note B, which is the 9th of the scale, or 2nd of the scale, then the other 2 notes that are going to move are going to go between column 3 and column 1. And then move to the next string. And then next string. This was gets tough. Just simply switch those fingers. So now the leading finger is going to go to the 5th string, and I continue the same pattern. So now I'm going to have this as a bass frequency, the 5th of the scale, the note E, and I'm going to be moving the other fingers around it. Because the fingertip of this finger, it's pretty much right on top of the 4th string, so to allow for the clearance and strength and the smoothness of motion, it's what we are training. And then I'm going to move to the 4th string, and as you can notice, now the stretch is going to get pretty tough, because now this is one of the weak fingers maintaining the ground in the middle of the pattern, and the other moving around it. We don't have as much of a range of motion. So now from this part, gets hard. 3rd string, right in the middle of the pattern. This is the 11th of the mode, the note D. Now it's a tough one. Especially when you get to this area here. So then I'm going to go to the 2nd string and do exactly the same thing. And then the first one, it's a tiny bit hard, because then you have to stretch those 2 fingers all the way to the 6th string, and while maintaining this as a sustain note. And then once we've exhausted all the possibilities here, we move to the final possible physical permutation, which is starting and leading the way with finger number 3 or finger number 4, which are all the notes in the 3rd column. And so now the only fingers free are the notes in the 1st and 2nd column of that particular geometric shape. And so I'm going to be doing the movement with those as this one or this one sustains. So it's going to sound like this. And then I go to the string. So now I'm going to put the pinky, because that's what the note on the third column of notes is, on the fifth string. That's the sixth of the mode. And so now I'm going to go through the empty strings and do that motion with the column number 1 and column number 2 notes. And then go to the 4th string. So now we're back to the 9th, the note B, and then go to the 3rd string. Again, some of the stretches become apparent now. And then the 2nd string, we're going to go back to the 3rd finger, because that's the respective finger that plays that note. And finally, the 1st string. So now I'm going to play all 3 options without stopping, and this is the purpose of the exercise, is to try to go from one to the other in the smoothest possible way, with the most amount of sustain and without stopping. So here we go. I'm going to put my leading finger on the 5th string. Now the leading finger is going to go on the 4th string. And now leading finger on the 3rd string. The leading finger is going to go on the 2nd string. This is a tough one. And then finally leading finger on the 1st string. One of the many other possibilities to practice this idea through the mode is to take only 3 strings at a time and combine all different leading notes in the 3 different columns in the same general area. This is what I mean. I'm going to start with the 6th string leading with the 1st column, then switch to the 2nd column in exactly the same range, then switch to the 3rd column. this. And then, with exactly the same range, I'm going to go through all the string options. So now I'm going to lead on the 5th string with the first column, then 5th string 2nd column, and then 5th string 3rd column. So I have this. And then finally I'm going to lead on the 4th string, and so I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to repeat them and connect them without stopping. So I'm going to go with all 3 options on the 6th string, all 3 options on the 5th, and all 3 options on the 4th, only while staying within 1 octave of the mode. So it's going to sound like this. Again, it's a great way to develop independence of your fingers. You can repeat that starting on the next 3 possible strings. So now starting 4th, 5th, and 3rd string, and so I can go like this. And then going to the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string, it's going to sound like this. And finally, the last 3. Once you have completed this, I would recommend going through every single one of the modes, of the major scale, the melodic minor scale, harmonic minor, whatever you're practicing. It can also be done in the pentatonic system as well, with some very cool effects. And of course it requires a bit more of a stretching there, but again, those are textures that can be utilized in any chordal arrangement and eventually prepare your hand to be able to stretch, have a smooth motion, balanced sound, and sustain throughout that kind of playing on the guitar. And I look forward to seeing you in the next installment of this video. I'm going to share some other concepts that at least I like to practice and I find very interesting in developing a very good and balanced technique on the instrument. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.